This FedGov Today program is sponsored by Appian. On this edition of FedGov Today with Francis Rose, the JWCC program isn't the only cloud in the sky. Grow Your Own hits the AI space, and a modernization six-pack underway at OPM. Welcome to FedGov Today with Francis Rose. The Joint Warfighting Cloud Capability Contract gets the headlines for the Defense Information Systems Agency, but it's not the only cloud in the sky for DISA and the Defense Department. Sharon Woods is director of the Hosting and Compute Center at the Defense Information Systems Agency. Sharon, welcome. It's great to see you. What does the overall cloud landscape look like for the Defense Department and for your agency? Welcome.
Thank you so much. I really appreciate it, Francis. So I'd say the cloud landscape, there's a few different dimensions to it. One, like you mentioned, is JWCC. $9 billion ceiling for cloud vendors with Amazon, Microsoft, Google, and Oracle. Commercial cloud capabilities at all classification levels, and it also includes the tactical edge capabilities that are so key for the military. In addition to that, we've implemented 365. So great collaboration experience there, and we're also looking at different SaaS capabilities like ServiceNow, Salesforce, those kinds of things. So I think, we're looking at a best-of-breed approach, optionality, taking advantage of everything that cloud has to offer.
The JWCC program was stuck in neutral for a long time. It's now hit the gas pedal, it sounds like, from what I read about. The task orders are being led against it, the amount of money that's going through it right now.
Absolutely. So a few months ago, you spoke with Ryan MacArthur, the program manager for JWCC, and at the time, we had just over 10 task orders. Now, a few months later, we have over 35 task orders, upwards of $250 million plus amount of task orders. So I think, once we got off the ground and we really started, running those task orders through, which are happening really quickly, we're finding that task orders get placed in roughly 30 days, which for a multiple award vehicle, a lot of times in other contracts, that can be a year. So we're moving really quickly, and I think that's really helped with the throughput of the contract. What's
driving that speed? What's enabling you and what's enabling the vendors to be able to respond that quickly and make things happen that fast?
Yeah, so I think one of the things that really benefited us, and this is, again, another area where cloud was so helpful, was developing an automated tool to build the acquisition packages together. So historically, those kinds of packages, they'd be emailed around, and people would be pulling documents down. Configuration control's a nightmare. By using an automated process, we're able to build those packages really quickly. We work directly with the contracting office. So I think that's really the biggest reason why we've been able to move so quickly, and then people are getting used to the contract.
Yeah, like I said at the beginning, JWCC gets all the headlines, but I think the back office stuff is as interesting to people because I'm not sure folks thought about how cloud enables faster acquisitions and enables better financial management and all those kinds of things in a DoD warfighting scenario.
Yeah, absolutely, because the other automated tool that we have is just that. It's about provisioning the cloud accounts. If you don't do that, it's a manual process. It can take weeks as opposed to with the automated tool that we have, so you can count it in days. And that also makes a really big difference in speed of using the contract.
What else is on the horizon cloud-wise for are there other vehicles that are coming online, or do you have kind of the landscape that you need and that the department needs?
So I think JWCC from a commercial cloud standpoint definitely is the pathway. Where we have been really focused, of course, is the warfighter and delivering cloud to the warfighter. So the Hosting and Compute Center, we've been looking at cloud for outside of the United States. How do you deliver that to the battlefield? JWCC is the pathway to getting at those edge compute capabilities for all four vendors, but how do you make it work in that environment? And so I think in the coming months, we're going to see more of those tactical edge task orders.
Not from a technology perspective, but from a warfighting perspective, one of the aspects of JWCC that a lot of military personnel, uniformed personnel have talked about is edge-to-edge capability and not cloud-to-edge. Is that what you're seeing in some of the task orders that are manifesting themselves? Are people asking for that capability already?
So I think there's a few pieces to that. A lot of that has to do with sensors and collecting data and then getting that data on the edge compute devices. But then what is so key is the synchronization with the core cloud environment. But what's so interesting about the edge compute devices is that they can operate completely disconnected, which is so important for the Department of Defense's mission. So I think there's a few different dimensions dimensions to it.
You've wrapped up your HACC strategic goals for fiscal 22 to 24. There were 5 lines of effort there. Prioritize command and control, drive force readiness through innovation, leverage data as a center of gravity, harmonize cybersecurity and the user experience, empower the workforce. What are some of the highlights of the completion of those in your view, Sharon?
Yeah, and Lieutenant General Skinner really pushed that for the Defense Information Systems Agency. And so we took a page out of that and made sure that we nested underneath those lines of effort. So in addition to JWCC, one of the other efforts that we're really proud of is the Vulcan DevSecOps project. That's all about automated, secure application development, which is very different than a manual process that is slow and cumbersome and introduces all the human error. So we launched that, and it's made up of a few different tools. We have over 5,000 people right now in our code repository, which is a huge number, and it's getting off the ground really well. The other area where we are excited is launching the outside the United States cloud capabilities. We've done that in 2 parallel paths. One is using JWCC and commercial cloud and that edge compute, but the other one is Stratus private cloud, that on-prem cloud environment. So we've been able to use our data centers outside of the United States and deploy private cloud as well. So it's a 2-pronged approach.
How do you help a customer client a collaborator determine what the right fit is, which cloud is the right cloud for what they want to do?
That's an excellent question. So we have a whole group of people that do just that. They triage, because what we find is that a mission owner, they know what they need to accomplish. They don't know what technology they need to use to do it. And so we're all about optionality and a best of breed approach. And sometimes they need more than one thing, and that's where hybrid cloud comes into play, where you have both on-prem and commercial cloud. And it's just helping them understand. And then the other piece to that too is sometimes you need Vulcan DevSecOps, sometimes you need JWCC, and it's really a constellation of capabilities that meet the mission need.
How much of the end user how much of the decision is the end user, and how much of the decision is yours as the technology experts feeding their mission requirements?
So we're an advisor, right? Ultimately, the decision is the mission owners. It's their funding. So, of course, they're an instrumental part in making that decision, but we provide the underlying expertise. And a lot of times there is some expertise resident to the mission owner as well. So it's just connecting with the right people and then translating that for the leadership.
You mentioned Vulcan and 5,000 users on that now. What are they doing with it? Who are they, and who should be using it that maybe isn't today?
Yeah, so with Vulcan, a really great example of that is the Defense Financing and Accounting Services Agency, or DFAS. They run all our financial systems, which is how we get paid, so we very much care about DFAS.
Big fans of them, then.
Yes, yes we are. But they run the financial systems for Air Force Logistics Depot maintenance. And they've been able to use Vulcan DevSecOps to modernize, to move quicker, and to innovate, which again, you get away from the manual, and it's all about speed and security and quality of capability.
Is that something that you're still scaling, Vulcan, or is that in its mature state today, ready for anybody that wants to jump in to jump in?
We're still scaling it. So right now we have the tool suite of Jira, Confluence, and then GitLab Ultimate, but then we're going to expand that to full-blown pipeline templates so that you're getting that cradle-to-grave experience. You know, we had to start with our minimum viable product and then keep building from there.
All right, back to your strategic goals. If you've hit all those, what do you do next? What do you do for an encore, Sharon?
So, I mean, the first thing is continuing to be the provider of choice for hybrid cloud for the warfighter. The other part that's so important is that superior customer experience. So you can talk about the application, but if that interaction with the application is a terrible one, it's not going to get very far. So we're very focused on that. Empowering the workforce. We have to be postured to consume the most modern technology and meet emerging threats. And so that's very important. And then finally, we're looking at internal optimization so that we can reinvest our resources into the workforce and into capability development.
We have less than a minute left. How much of the workforce piece that you just mentioned and the customer experience piece that you mentioned intertwine with each other thinking about the workforce and the workers as customers?
Well, I think one of the big shifts, and this isn't unique to HACC, this is really a government-wide experience, is the continuous user feedback loop, which is one of the major tenets of agile software development. But it's the idea that rather than just talking to the user at the very end of the process to say, hey, here's the thing, you talk to them continuously and you make pivots and changes based on their feedback. You have to have a workforce that's skilled at agile development in order to do that effectively.
Sharon Woods, it's great to have you on the program. Thanks for your time today.
Thank you so much. I really appreciate it.
You can find a link to the Hosting and Compute Center's action plan on today's show page at fedgovtoday.com. Up next, Grow Your Own hits the AI space. FedGov Today with Francis Rose continues in a moment.
Don't miss the 7th Annual Appian Government Conference on November 29th in Tysons, Virginia, to learn how you can use low-code and AI process automation to empower your workforce, enhance citizen engagement, and reimagine service delivery. Register now at appiangovernment.com.
Welcome back. Generative artificial intelligence is the new frontier in that technology. The next big thing in AI, though, might be private. Jason Adolf is Industry Vice President for Public Sector at Appian Government. Jason, welcome. It's great to talk to you. What is private AI, and what does it mean for somebody that's thinking about artificial intelligence in the government sector?
Sure. So I think in the government conversations, you can't go more than 5 seconds without mentioning the word artificial intelligence. The biggest thing I think people need to understand is that most of what we hear about is you sending data to a public model where you're sending data with people from other countries, from other industries. And so we support a lot of very important missions that can't commingle data with public data. And so our idea was, let's create an environment where we can take your data, we can train your information and keep it separate from our other customers and from the public, but still provide you the benefits that you hear about for using generative AI and some of the AI technologies. And so that's the key. It's separating your data from everybody else's.
Mm-hmm. Is there a discernment that's necessary, or is it evident to the user this is something that's not appropriate for a public tool, and this is something that's okay to use a public tool for?
And this lies the problem, which is a lot of people don't know the difference. They hear, let's talk about ChatGPT, and they say, oh, I'm just going to go start typing things in or upload a document there. And most agencies don't have policies for that type of stuff yet. And so what we're saying is we're providing a platform by which it is safe to do that. And we can control that experience with the end user, so they're not trying to go off and use these third-party tools where you don't know what you're getting. Mm-hmm. And so that's where I think the discernment comes in.
Pull back more broadly. What are agencies asking you about AI, and what are they trying to figure out for themselves about AI in broadly across the sectors right now?
Sure. I mean, the biggest thing is the confusion over, can I do it? Can I use it, right? And then how do I use it in such a way that doesn't seem artificial, or not artificial, but like, on the surface, right? Yeah. And so we've been, the number one thing we hear about is how do we apply AI in use cases like case management, right? How do I relate cases together? How do I see things that might be interesting for me to know in the pursuit of completing some piece of work? And so we're pitching AI as a way to assist users or to power the applications that we have with our customers. Mm-hmm. And I think that's the way that we see most agencies today trying to take that first step. Mm-hmm. Now, we certainly see customers like our defense customers, our law enforcement customers, our public health customers leaning much further in with AI to do some pretty interesting things. But most of our FedCiv customers want to know how we can automate stuff. Mm-hmm.
That automation process was really hot in the form of robotic process automation for a while. I'm going to guess 3, 4, 5 years ago. Has RPA just been overcome by events in your view, or is that a piece of what's happening in the AI discussion right now, or how is this all connected together?
So You're right about the time frame, right? And so I think what we see with RPA is that most of the vendors that play in this space have subsumed RPA into their platform. So we've acquired a capability that we've integrated into the platform to do that. We look at RPA as an extension of the automation tools that we have. So it is one, arrow in the quiver, right? You could do it through our process modeling environment. You could use a decision logic. You could use an RPA bot to accomplish a task. So we're not looking at it as a standalone thing anymore. We're looking at it as human, bot, AI.
I have been talking to people on this program for the last couple of weeks about Appian government that's coming November 29th. What will people get when they show up for that?
Sure. So yes, we are going to talk about AI because it wouldn't be a federal conference if we didn't.
That's right.
But we're going to talk about it a lot in context, particularly in the context of two areas: case management and acquisition. We do a lot of acquisition work through our acquisition suite. So you're going to hear a lot about AI and the ways that we're dealing with automation. We've got some great customer speakers that are going to be there, and quite a lot of people.
What do you want folks to take away from that when they go back to their agencies?
We want them to take away that these technologies are not bleeding edge and so far out of their reach that they can't take advantage of it. We want to show them practical ways to use these things in the applications that they're using every day.
All right, I'll have more detail on that later in the show. Jason, thanks very much for joining me. I appreciate it.
Thank you so much.
You can read more about Appian government on today's show page, too, at fedgovtoday.com. Up next, a modernization six-pack underway at OPM. FedGov Today with Francis Rose continues in a moment. Here's Joe Boy, system engineer at Palo Alto Networks, from AI in Depth.
Imagine you sitting behind a keyboard, freshly new into the space, and you have a co-pilot that helps guide you through the process of ensuring your environment is secure, setting up the right policies to make sure that what you do set up is going to be effective, and getting those recommendations from the AI to say, hey, this is where we think you should best put your tools and resources to get the best out of it, right? And so that's one way in which we see it being a force multiplier.
To watch the whole program, go to fedgovtoday.com/AI. Welcome back. 6 major modernization initiatives are underway at the Office of Personnel Management. Those 6 lines of efforts include some core functions of the agency. Guy Cavallo is Chief Information Officer at OPM. Guy, welcome. It's great to have you on the program. The one that I think most folks are interested in, because it will touch every federal employee at some point, is the retirement systems modernization. Where are you in that journey today, and where do you want to take retirement systems modernization?
Yes, thank you, Francis. No, it's great to be here. As someone who also will be enjoying retirement at some point, I want to make sure that it's as smooth as possible. We are working to move from a paper-based manual process to today's digital world. It's been tried in the past, but it's been tried as a big boom instead of taking it in smaller chunks, as what we're doing now. We want to start the process. One of the biggest problems with retiring federal employees is they don't know, I turned in my application to my agency. Does OPM have it yet? Where am I? So we're modernizing that process with a project called Online Retirement Application. So the employee will know, I've turned in everything, OPM got it on this date, so now I know where the clock starts, because what we find is a lot of employees don't get their full package submitted to us, so we can't even start our processing until we go back and forth with the agency. So one thing we're hoping with this first step is let's streamline just the start of the process and let people know where they are. And then we're also modernizing how to calculate retirement, which is a pretty intensive manual process today. Again, trying to take it in smaller chunks instead of doing the big bang.
Is that the major lesson you've learned from the previous attempts? We were talking a little bit before we went on the air about, as long as I've been around, this is the 3rd or 4th attempt that OPM has made to do that. Is that the major lesson, that you can't do one big waterfall project for this? Yeah,
this definitely is an agile approach. It's doing it in modules. It's taking it a step at the time and doing incremental development, all the things that we should do. And I think the lesson, not just from OPM, but other large information systems that didn't end up being what you wanted. They tried to bite off too much at once, and didn't satisfy anything instead of trying to satisfy a smaller section.
Yeah. Is it possible to put a timeline on a project like that, Guy, given all the potential variables and the potential things that you'll discover that you might not have even known were there when you dig into legacy code and legacy applications and things like that?
I have a timeline, but I also need money. And so the two go together. We know that it definitely is going to be a multi-year project to replace 40 years of legacy COBOL code that's been modified over the decades. That part's going to take long, and I need funding beyond our regular budget to be able to do that.
All right, I tease people that you have a six-pack. That's number one. Postal health benefits system that the Postal Reform Act mandated is coming. Zero trust implementation, the technology modernization fund supporting that. Data center migration to the cloud, modernizing OPM.gov, and the impact of artificial intelligence on OPM's mission. Now, Jason, in the last segment, said we can't have a conversation about government IT without talking about AI. So, in obligation to that, how are you thinking about artificial intelligence, and what are some use cases that you're maybe working through now, Guy?
Sure. I personally view artificial intelligence as going to be a big of an impact on our office workers, our productivity people, as when the PC first arrived. That means I'm saying it's bigger than the internet, it's bigger than client server, it's bigger than web development. The impact is going to be that big. There are so many things that artificial intelligence can help. I think the executive order on cybersecurity requests that each agency establish a chief artificial intelligence officer. Our model today is every agency now has to create a position description from scratch, a performance evaluation, how they're going to recruit it and all that. Wouldn't it be great if we could use artificial intelligence and create templates for people? So at OPM, we're looking at how can we improve the hiring, the performance evaluations, the reviews of federal employees, and also it'll spill into retirement too. So yeah, we're just scratching the surface now, and there's going to be plenty of use cases for us.
What's behind the modernization of OPM.gov? How will it be different when you're finished or when you're far along in your journey than it is today?
OPM.gov is what I love about what governments do, not just at the federal level, but at the state and local level. The website today is based on our org chart. So you need to know what part of OPM does the thing that you want to do. The same way when I look at a city website and I want to do a special trash pickup. Is it under Public Works? Is it under customer service? What we're doing is revising it based along personas of what people want from OPM, instead of you need to know that this office covers that part. So it's going to be a complete rebuild. We're not planning to migrate any of the current content. Everything is going to be relifted, making sure it's 508 compliant, easy to use on mobile devices, all the things that it's not today.
And how do you determine what those personas are? How do you do that? By the web traffic that you're getting now? Do you get other input from federal employees and the public? How do you determine that?
We did that and also did an extensive user study. We really have 4 major personas that hit the website. You have federal employees that want to know when's my next grade increase. They want to know about their current federal benefits. Then we have the general public that wants to apply for a federal job. What does that mean? What are the benefits? Can I work in my state, or do I have to move to DC? Then we have the HR offices that want to know, OPM, you just revised the policy on early career talent or a change, so how do I go to that? And then the fourth one are, which we started off talking about, retirees. So we clearly have those 4 different personas that we want to build the website around, that versus what's in the office of the CFO versus the CIO.
Considering the persona that you talked about, the general public that wants to apply for a federal job, is there a component of USA Jobs that will get a makeover during this process too?
Everything will get a makeover, yes.
That will be music to the ears of people who want to apply for federal jobs who don't have experience with USA Jobs. Yes. Cloud migration. What are you keeping in data centers and what are you moving to the cloud, and how are you determining in what order you can do it? I'm assuming you can't do it all because you talked about funding earlier. That usually is the holdup for folks. Yeah,
it's another thing you can't do over a weekend and throw a switch. I had my team use the CIO Council's application rationalization playbook, and we added 2 twists to it. it's very good at having you determine what you should do with an app, but it didn't measure two things. How important is that application, and how difficult would it be to migrate it to the cloud? So we added those two criteria, and we actually have a grid of, here are the applications that are going to have a huge impact but are very simple to move to the cloud, so that's what we're going to move first. Here are the applications that are really hard to move to the cloud and nobody uses them. Those are the ones that we're going to wait till the end. So a little twist to the app rationalization playbook that made it much easier for us to see what should we do when, and we're in the process of moving. We've already have over 50 apps in the cloud today, and we're moving our major applications are being moved now based on where they came out on that rationalization.
When the app rationalization playbook came out, the folks who put it out told me at the time, this is a living document, we want to see this change over time. Is that something that you think should be incorporated into the playbook for everybody to use as a guide moving forward?
Yeah, we share a lot of what we're doing, but yeah, to us that was two things that we're missing. Because those applications that are really hard to move and hardly anybody uses, it makes it easier for us to meet with the system owner and say, can we just turn that off? It's just not worth it.
Yeah.
Where if we had a roadmap of, yeah, this is going to be hard and it's going to cost X dollars, it at least allows us to have that conversation.
My apologies to the folks who are going to be users of the new postal health benefit system that we didn't have a chance to talk about that in great detail, but I want to close on that idea that you just talked about. How much of an opportunity are you able to take through this process to really rethink the way that you do business processes in any of these individual issues that we're talking about?
Well, Francis, in my career, if you just take the current business processes and modernize them, you're not fixing a thing. You have to look at both the human side, changing the processes, simplifying them, and then use technology to deliver it.
Guy Cavallo, it's great to have you on the program. Thanks very much for your
Francis.
time. You can read more about the modernization initiatives at OPM on today's show page at fedgovtoday.com. FedGov Today continues in a moment. Mark your calendar for December 14th. AFCIA DC invites you to the 47th Annual Winter Gala at the National Building Museum. Join leaders from defense, federal IT, and industry for an unforgettable evening of elegance and goodwill. Last year, AFCIA DC raised more than $190,000 for scholarships and collected thousands of toys, and they want to top that this year. Reserve your tickets now. Visit dc.afciachapters.org for details or go to fedgovtoday.com/events. Welcome back. In today's event spotlight, you heard earlier, Appian Government's coming November 29th at Capital One Hall in Tysons. You'll learn how to achieve superior outcomes when you combine the right people, processes, and advanced technologies. Speakers from DoD, civilian agencies, and industry will help you empower your workforce, enhance citizen engagement, and reimagine service delivery to advance your agency's mission. You can read more and sign up at appiangovernment.com. FedGov Today TV returns next Sunday morning at 10:30. I'm Francis Rose. I'll see you then. Thanks for watching. Have a great week.
Don't miss the 7th Annual Appian Government Conference on November 29th in Tysons, Virginia, to learn how you can use low-code and AI process automation to empower your workforce, enhance citizen engagement, and reimagine service delivery. Register now at appiangovernment.com.